Being a private investigator means two things. You can be sure you'll run into trouble, and you can never be sure you'll get out of it. Not much you can do about it, I guess, except, like Julie always says,
walk softly, Peter Troy.
And now Peter Troy investigates the Lovelorn Lady.
love makes the world go round, said the man, and I'd hate to argue about that. It could be love does make this tired old planet revolve, but personally, I wouldn't be at all surprised if one day it brought the world to a dead stop. One thing I'm sure of, it brings some folks to a dead stop, and I mean dead. For if love often urges folks to make great sacrifices, it sure enough also gives some others a terrible yen for murder, as any history book or dime novelette can demonstrate. Like, for instance, the thing that happened to a character by the name of David Murray, a none too savory jerk who ran, of all things, a Lonely Hearts Club. He had the Lonely Hearts game sewn up. By day, he ran the club for those unfortunate people who need someone else to find mates for them. And by night, he ran his own private Lonely Hearts Club, in which he shared himself out among a number of dolls with whom he was apparently quite a hit. Until one certain night...
Oh, don't be that way, darling. You know there's nobody else but you. What's that? Oh, no, don't be silly. She doesn't mean a thing to me. Well, I'm telling you now, aren't I? Of course I do. All right, then. I love you. How's that? I love you, I love you, I love you. Madly, uncontrollably, without ceasing. I love your eyes, your lips, your... Somebody at the door. Just a sec, darling. Come in. What's that, darling? No, I don't know who it is. No, of course I'm not expecting anyone. Oh, blast. Just a second, darling. Come in. The door's not locked. Who is it? Darling, just hang on while I see who it is. Someone very diffident. Doesn't seem to want it. What the... You. What are you doing here? I told you never to... Hey, what do you think you're doing? No!
Had I known about the passing of David Murray at the time, which I didn't, I would have been inclined to get hold of his little red book and use a pin to pick the name of any one of a dozen dolls who might have bumped him off. He was, as I indicated, that kind of a crumb. I first heard about him in a different way when I arrived at my office one morning to find Julie looking rather happy about something.
Good morning, Pete. And a lovely morning it is, too.
Oh, I suppose you know you just stole my line, honey.
Did I? Well, you can have it back. What sort of a morning would you say it is, Pete?
It's a lovely morning.
There. You happy now?
Yeah, more to the point, what's making you so happy?
Why shouldn't I be happy? It's such a lovely morning.
Oh, I think that's been mentioned. What's new?
Client in your office?
Already? Oh, a male or female?
Female. A beautiful doll.
And you're happy? Oh, don't make me laugh.
You love her, I'm sure. Just your cup of tea.
Hey, Julie, no kidding?
No kidding.
Oh, this I've got to see.
Oh, good morning. You're Mr. Troy?
Yeah, I'm Troy. Excuse me a moment, ma'am. Julie, that was a filthy trick to play on a guy at 9:30 in the morning.
Oh, what trick was that?
That monster in my office. She is a dog, an absolute dog.
If you can see the look on your face.
Okay. But I won't forget this, Julie. I'll get even.
You sure you wouldn't like me to come in and take notes while you're with Miss Wellington?
Wellington? Is that her name? She even sounds like a dog. But next time she wants an appointment, make it at nighttime. Then she won't be able to come.
Why not?
Because she'll be too busy haunting a house somewhere. Now, Miss Wellington, isn't it?
That's right, Mr. Troy. Nora Wellington. Miss Nora Wellington.
I think I have the name right now.
Mr. Troy, I want you to handle a matter of some delicacy for me.
Shoot.
I beg your pardon?
I mean, what is it you want me to do, Miss Wellington?
I want you to expose a dreadful man called David Murray.
Expose him?
Yes, he's a terrible man. He took my money and absolutely no good came of it. He introduced me to a lot of very unacceptable people. Unacceptable to me, that is. And then, when I said I wasn't satisfied, he ordered me out of his office, just like that.
Well, look, I'm not with you, Miss Wellington. You say this Murray took your money. Well, what did you pay him for?
For introductions to some nice gentleman friends, of course.
Oh.
David Murray owns the Murray Lonely Hearts Club. Don't worry, come to Murray. That's his slogan.
And he makes money?
Lots of money. He's made a fortune out of the misery of other people.
What, with that slogan? Must be a genius.
He's a very unpleasant person, Mr. Troy, and he should be drummed out of his very undesirable business.
Miss Wellington, you said you paid this man money. How much?
£25.
And you feel it's worth engaging me to get your money back? It could be that it's not really worth the trouble for so small a sum, you know.
I don't expect to get my money back, Mr. Troy, and it's not the money that worries me. It's Murray. He's a fake, and he should be exposed.
Well, maybe, Miss Wellington, maybe, but I'm no crusader.
I'm not asking you to crusade. I want to prosecute Murray for fraud, and I want you to get the evidence. And I'm prepared to pay you all for that, Mr. Troy. I don't care what it costs. I want that man shown up for what he is.
Oh, hi, Julie.
I'm back.
Yes, well, I kind of figured that. Thank heavens. This typing sure is a drag. Well, how'd you make out with friend Murray?
I didn't even see him.
You know, you'll make a great detective someday. There's no doubt about that. Well, I send you down to the Murray Lonely Hearts Club to interview this creep, and you don't even get to see him.
I didn't see him because he wasn't there. He hasn't been in today, the girl said.
Oh. Well, where is he? On holidays or something?
No, they don't know where he is. They've even tried to get him on the phone, but it's engaged.
Engaged? What, all day?
I don't know. The girl just said it was engaged.
Yeah. Do you have his home address and phone number?
Yes, I got all that.
Yeah, that's something. Look, get on the blower to him and make an appointment to see him.
For you?
No, for you. I told you, I don't want to get mixed up in this Murray thing unless I have to. I don't even want this case. This kind of thing is pretty low bracket, you know.
Oh, thanks. Now I know why you put me on it.
No, just call Murray, huh?
I don't know why I have to do all the dirty work around here.
Well, you asked for it when you played that trick on me about that doll with the Dracula face.
Miss Wellington? She's your client, remember?
How could I ever forget?
You know, she must have more money than sense engaging you to expose Murray. It'll cost her a lot more than £25 she paid him.
Anyway, we shouldn't have too much trouble getting something juicy on Murray. From what I hear, he's quite a guy with the dolls. And some of them must hate him, and they're probably willing to talk.
Well, his phone's still engaged, so that fixes that.
Still engaged? I don't know that I like the sound of this very much.
How do you mean, Pete?
I don't know. Come on, Julie, let's take a little drive.
Where to?
Murray's home. See if we can persuade him to get off the phone. Come on.
He's in no hurry to answer the door, anyway.
If he's home.
If he is not, why is his phone engaged?
Remind me to ask him when I see him. Well, it's no use buzzing anymore. We may as well try the door. Oh, I don't... Oh. It's unlocked. It's odd.
Yes, isn't it? Shall we go in?
We surely shall. After you.
Thank you.
Mr. Murray? Hello, anyone home? I gather there's nobody home.
Pete, I don't like this. I mean, if he... Pete, look.
What? Oh, wow. No wonder he didn't answer the phone. Now, let's take a look at him. Yeah.
Is he...
Yeah, he's dead, all right. He's been dead some time.
The phone's off the hook. Receiver's on the floor. No wonder we couldn't ring him. I wonder...
Don't touch it, Julie. Don't touch it. Fingerprints.
Oh.
Don't touch anything.
Oh, there's a gun on the table here.
Yeah, an automatic. And I wonder what it's doing there.
Oh, why shouldn't it be there?
Well, I don't know, but if it's the murder weapon, I'd say it should be on the floor.
What?
Hey, see that? In the floor.
It looks like a bullet hole.
Yeah, with powder burns around it. That means the gun was fired close to the floor. Yeah, possibly in a struggle, but as there are no signs of a struggle, I'd say the gun went off accidentally when dropped to the floor.
After the murder?
After the murder.
Well, then the murderer picked it up and put it on the table.
Yeah, the murderer or somebody else.
What makes you think it might have been somebody else?
Well, I don't necessarily think that, but it's a possibility.
Well, shouldn't we phone the police or something?
We should and we will. Come on.
Oh, the phone's right there, couldn't you?
I don't want to use that phone. Now, if Murray was calling somebody when he was shot, that phone will still be connected with theirs.
Well, even if they've hung up?
Yeah. In which case, the police will be able to trace the call and find out if the other party heard anything.
But what if the other party was ringing Murray?
Well, in that case, the connection would be broken when the guy hung up at the other end.
Oh.
Anyway, honey, as far as we're concerned, I'd say this turned out to be a nice, simple case. After the police get onto this, friend Murray will be well and truly exposed, just as Nora Wellington wanted him. Come on, let's go call the police. I was wrong. The case was not over for us at all. It might have been, but for my pet poltergeist, which kept whispering to me that there was an angle to the murder of David Murray that made it something that I should follow up, even though nobody was paying me to do that. It was because of this little whisper nagging at me that I later checked the thing out with Inspector Norman, who was pinch-hitting for my friend Caswell.
Well, you haven't missed much, Troy. All pretty straightforward.
Not another of your open and shut cases.
That's right. We picked up the girl, and she's being charged right this minute.
Girl? What girl?
The name of Eileen Jarvis, one of Murray's numerous lady friends.
Oh, and I suppose you have a good case against her.
Well, you judge for yourself. Her prints were on the pistol, the murder weapon.
The one on the table in the room?
That's right.
Yeah, I was curious about that gun. Looked a rather ancient weapon to me.
Oh, it is. Not in the best condition, either. Safety catch doesn't work, and the mechanism's so worn it works more or less as a hair trigger.
Yeah, well, no wonder it went off when it was dropped on the floor. I guess that's how that bullet hole got in the floor.
Apparently. After dropping the gun, the girl must have picked it up and put it on the table.
She admits doing that, as well as the murder?
No, of course she doesn't. She said she picked up the gun involuntarily when she walked in and found the body.
Uh-huh.
Her story is that she was on the phone to Murray when it happened. Heard the shots, left her home, and went straight over to Murray's.
Did you check Murray's phone? If he called her...
Oh, we thought of that. But she said that she called him. At least that part of it would fit. His phone wasn't connected to any other.
It's a pity. And there's no way of proving whether he was on the phone to her or not.
No, but it's understandable that she says he was.
How did you get onto this girl?
Oh, we went through the little red book that was in his pocket and started checking out all the names we found there. By chance, Eileen Jarvis was one of the first we looked up. She had left her home in a hurry, leaving a trail a mile wide.
Yes, and when you picked her up, she gave a guilty start and began protesting her innocence, etc., etc.
That's right.
Wouldn't you say it was all just a little pat, Inspector? Just too easy, maybe?
Perhaps. But you get some easy ones now and then. Not for me to fly in the face of Providence when we get a quick solution to a case.
It isn't the face of Providence I'm thinking about. It's the stern old face of justice that worries me.
I must say you seem to be going to an awful lot of trouble at this stage, Pete. You couldn't have cared less about Miss Wellington's case when she came to you, and now that it's over, you're rushing out to report to her.
Well, ever the conscientious detective, you know, Julie.
Oh, is that what you call it? I would rather say that...
Oh, Mr. Troy, I didn't expect to see you.
Oh, I'm just reporting on the business you left in my hands, Miss Wellington. You know my secretary, Miss Summers.
Of course. Come in.
Thanks.
Come into the living room. It's lighter there. I see by the papers that you haven't been able to get very far with Mr. Murray, Mr. Troy.
Then you know about the murder.
Oh, yes. Terrible thing. It's funny, I wished that man all kinds of punishments when he was alive, but now, well, one doesn't speak ill of the dead, does one?
That's what they say. And seeing Murray's dead, there's not much more I can do for you, but if it's any satisfaction to you, he won't be swindling any more lonely-hearted ladies.
No, that's true, and that at least is a good thing. Like many others, I went to David Murray in the hope that he would introduce me to some nice gentleman. I have been lonely. It's no use pretending I haven't, and I'm not very good at making friends for myself.
You have a lovely home here, Miss Wellington. Please don't think me rude, but I'm sure there are a lot of men who would regard you as a pretty good catch.
It's easy to see you've never been married, my dear. Men seem very different to a woman after marriage.
But you've never been married either, Miss Wellington.
No. Oh, of course not.
Well, then how come you have such definite ideas about what a man's like after marriage?
I've heard from married women I know. I see you're admiring my photographs, Miss Summers.
Yes, I was. Especially this set over here.
Oh, those. Yes, they are good, aren't they? Those were taken in Cornwall about 6 or 7 years ago. I spent a very happy time there.
Oh, did you live there, or was it just a holiday?
Why, I lived there for a time, in Penryn, you know. In many ways, I wish I'd never left there.
The photos make the countryside look very attractive, I must say.
Julie, I think we'd better be going.
Oh, all right, Pete. I suppose we can't do anything more for Miss Wellington now.
No, I'm afraid you can't, but thank you for all your trouble, Mr. Troy, especially coming out to see me. If you'll post me an account, I'll promise you it'll be paid promptly.
Why, Pete, wherever did you get that?
Oh, it's a photo of our dear Miss Wellington.
Well, I can see that.
As a matter of fact, I swiped it from her place while you and she were oohing and eyeing over the Cornish countryside.
Well, you shouldn't have done that. Anyway, what do you want it for? Don't tell me you succumbed to an irresistible urge to have a picture of Miss Wellington by your bed.
Oh, very funny. No, this photo is for you.
Me? What do you want me to do with it?
Take it to Cornwall, to Penryn, where she said she lived 6 or 7 years ago.
Whatever for? Are you checking up on Miss Wellington?
I am. For the simple reason I do not like her. I do not like the odd coincidence of her getting me to chase up David Murray shortly after he'd been shot dead. And I do not like the intense way she talked about marriage when she's making like she's an old maid.
Pete, you don't think...
Well, right now it's just an idea. Now that's why you're going to Cornwall. Now I'll sit by the phone with sandwiches till I hear from you.
You're not telling me anything, Troy. We know Murray was married.
Oh. Well, have you found his wife?
No, apparently they were separated. Her maiden name was Duke.
Nora Duke?
That's right, but how did you know?
Well, it figures. The change from Duke to Wellington, I mean.
Change? What change?
Nora Duke, Murray's wife, now calls herself Nora Wellington. It was she who came to me about Murray, and it was as a result of her call that I went out to his place and found the body.
What? But how do you know this woman is Nora Duke?
Well, on a hunch, I sent Julie to Penryn in Cornwall with a photograph of dear Nora. As she'd told us she spent a happy time there a few years ago.
What's that to do with her being married?
Well, I was trying out a theory. We know Murray was a lady killer. Now, Nora is a plain Jane, if ever there was one. If she was married to Murray, which we now know she was, she'd have a pretty good motive for her killing Murray. Jealousy.
I still don't see how you know...
Julie shopped around Penryn, churches, marriage registry, and so on, carrying the photograph. A minister identified the woman in the photo as one he'd married to David Murray 6 or 7 years ago. And all this checked out with his church register. Look, let's play my hunch a little further, Inspector. Do you have the murder weapon handy?
I can get it. What do you want it for?
Well, I'll tell you. And then I want you to get Nora Murray in here to your office.
Inspector, I know nothing at all about the murder of David Murray. I I can't think why you dragged me all the way here to
Miss Wellington, or perhaps I should say Mrs. Murray.
What?
Well, that's right, isn't it? You were married to Murray in Cornwall about 6 years ago.
Mr. Troy has a theory he'd like to expound to you, madam. Go ahead, Troy.
Well, it goes like this. On the night David Murray was killed, he was on the telephone to one of his many girlfriends, a doll by the name of Eileen Jarvis. You'd known about his affairs for some time, and you'd decided that you'd had enough of it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No? You went to Murray's home. You weren't living together at the time. You took with you this pistol, loaded, just as it is now.
I've never seen that before.
Oh? Then I'll just put it here on the desk. The sight of it may refresh your memory. You walked into Murray's home to find him on the phone to Eileen Jarvis. You shot him several times and then threw the gun on the floor. It went off, but you left it there. You listened to the phone and you heard the Jarvis girl calling over it. And an idea occurred to you. So you hid somewhere in the place and you waited.
Inspector, I must protest.
Just listen, please, madam.
That idea you had paid off very well. You saw Eileen Jarvis come to the house. Oh, she saw the body and, without thinking, picked up the gun, thus putting her fingerprints on it. Oh, that suited your book very well. Your prints weren't on the gun because you'd worn gloves. Then Eileen panicked and ran out. She went home and packed, tried to run away. But you'd already guessed that she might do this. So you hired me on a phony assignment to make sure the body was found before Eileen could get away.
Really, this is the most absurd story I ever listened to.
Do you deny that you are Mrs. David Murray?
Can I come in, Inspector?
Please do, Miss Summers.
Hi, Julie. Now, you're just in time to tell Mrs. Murray what you found out about her marrying David Murray in Cornwall.
That's the truth. Mr. Tregarning, the minister, was quite sure about that photo I showed him.
Is he the old fool? His tongue's too big for his boots.
Mrs. Murray, unless you can convince me that what Troy's been suggesting is false, I'm afraid...
You're not going to charge me with any murder.
Mrs. Murray, put down that gun.
If any of you tries to stop me, I'll shoot.
You can't. The safety catch is on.
You can't fool me like that. The safety catch on this gun doesn't work.
You shot your husband with that pistol, didn't you, Mrs. Murray?
All right. He was a swine. All those women. He never loved me. It was my money he wanted.
I'll take that pistol, Mrs. Murray.
Stand back. I'll shoot.
Oh, no, you won't. It's not loaded.
It is. You told me it was. And I know something of guns. I can tell by the weight. The magazine is full.
Oh, it's full, all right. Full of dummy cartridges. There's no powder in them.
What?
Now, come along, Mrs. Murray. I'll take that gun, if you don't mind. Thanks for your help, Troy.
It's a pleasure, Inspector.
A pleasure? Well, it wasn't much pleasure for me. You had me doing all the dirty work and foot-slogging while you snatch all the glory. If I don't get a bonus out of this, you will need to walk softly, Peter Troy.